Hey guys, what's going on? Jason's back. I got my next video. This is going to be a little bit more fab. I'm doing a bunch of different things. First I need to strip down the rest of this motor, get it all prepared for the following motor mount plates, and you know, if you guys want to see something else, or you guys think that something individually should be like a more in-depth review on how to build something, or you know, just how the steps about going and custom fabricating, leave it in the comments below. I read them all. I'll respond. Or if you don't want anybody to see what you're saying, you can send me a private message. It doesn't matter. Usually when I build stuff totally from scratch, I always start with cardboard. You know, you always have boxes laying around, so it's real easy to cut and shape, and if you mess up, it's no big deal. You just throw it in the garbage and grab a new piece. And that's what I was doing for this motor mount plates. I start off getting everything out of my way, obviously, first, and then take the cardboard, cut it in the general shape or size, and go ahead and put it against the motor, figure out exactly how big and what shape it needs to be. After that, you know, you can go ahead. What I do, I don't try to drill the holes in the cardboard. I grab plexiglass, real thin, 1/8 inch, I believe it is, plexiglass. I got it at my local Ace Hardware. It's like, I think I paid $10 for all of it was like a 3-foot by 3-foot sheet, so everything is pretty cheap. The metal, the steel was what cost the money. So right now you can see I'm chopping away at the cardboard. I got it in the general shape, and so now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. This one is for the dipstick side, and the bigger one is for the AC compressor side. I actually end up shrinking this one down more because I did the alternator relocation kit, which will be in another video, and I had to shrink it in order to utilize the bolt holes that the alternator kit uses. So here I am cutting out the plexiglass, and the reason I'm using plexiglass is because you can see through it. So you know, you want to be able to see through it so you can correctly mark all the bolt holes, and you can get the correct sizing for the bolt holes, and everything's centered up, and that way, you know, you only have to mess with the steel plate one time and one time only. So like right now I have the plastic plate I'm lining it up and drilling out the holes with a really small pilot bit, because you can always make the hole bigger, but you want the, you know, the hole to be dead center of the block casting. I have the camera in a real bad place actually for this. Next time I'll figure out a little mounting stand or something to hook up the GoPro so that you can have a better angle and see a little better. I'm still getting the hang of all this production stuff, so bear with me. Next couple videos should be getting better and better. As you can see from this video right now, I got the alternator still in the stock location. When you see the mounting plate for the other side, I think you'll see the mounting plate bolted up with the alternator relocated. I'm gonna go through and have a short video on the alternator relocation, and pretty much just go through the steps on installing it. So as you can see, all the bolt holes line up on the plexi, and this one's ready to go. Yay. So now I've just got to do the same thing with the other side. go ahead, line up the plexiglass in the spots I need it, draw out the holes, and I also have one more order for parts that I'm putting out. It's going to be bigger valves, cam gears. I ordered all new timing belt covers so that it'll all look nice, because that's pointing straight at you when you pop the hood. So I want it to look good. If anyone lives around Phoenix, I'm trying to find the shop that does mandrel bending for. I want to do my aluminum intake piping. So I think it's 3.5 or 4-inch intake piping that goes to the turbo, and then the pressure tubing I want 2.5-inch to match my throttle body. And I just need to find a shop that can custom bend my pipes to fit in the areas that I need to go. I mean, I could buy pieces, cut them and weld them, and cut and weld and cut and weld, but it just seems too tedious. I'd rather just pay and have a nice seamless pipe going in the exact spots I need it to go in. Alright, so now I'm just bolting up after I cut them out of metal. I'm bolting them up to the motor just to see how it all fits. If I need to make a bolt hole bigger, or if I need to put spacers behind the plate, in between the plate and the motor. There's a couple spots on this motor. Not all the bolt holes are on the same exact plane. So some of them will be in towards the motor a little, some will be out towards, towards the plate. Yeah, say hi to my girlfriend. Anyways, so as you can tell if you look a little closer, this plate, it doesn't look like the plexiglass one, and that was because I didn't think it would have had enough strength the way it was, where it was just cut around the dipstick and it was open on the top. I figured maybe under the torque of the motor that it would bend or flex or whatever. So what I did was I went from the top of the tall side on the water pump side. I went down at an angle to the corner on the left hand side, and that way there was just a slit for the dipstick to go through. And as you can tell right here, the dipstick just goes through the slit, and then it's just flush. That gives me the extra strength of connecting the top, and I'm hoping it'll be strong enough. I don't see why not. So I think it turned out pretty good. This is the air conditioner side. This plexiglass version is much bigger than mine is currently. I'm going to show that in the next video, because I had to, this hole, the first two holes right here on the left, had to get cut out because of the alternator bracket. And then, if you guys know, the starter's over on that side, so I had to cut down the back. I had to cut it down to only like a 1/4 inch or so above the bottom two bolt holes, so I could get everything set up, because the alternator just wouldn't fit. It was hitting the steel. But that's what all this is about. You can't just slap something together and it works the first time. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah, it just doesn't. Right now I'm cutting out the air conditioner bracket side right now, and this is all how thick is this? 3/8. Yeah, I'm using 3/8 steel for these two plates, and I'm also going to use the leftovers from this to make the welds from these plates to the stock Chevy motor mount brackets. That way I can use the cheap Chevy motor mounts, which you can get anywhere super cheap, and just have a set of braces that weld from this bracket to those cups. The cups are about 4 inches wide, so the motor mounts are big enough to handle the power, no problem. Figuring, you know, the V8s are usually in these. Now be prepared to go through quite a bit of cutting discs, and I think I almost lit my pants on fire the one time. You know, just all the sparks hitting the same spot in your clothes. Just be careful you're paying attention to that when you're fabricating too. So right now I have a snap punch. I'm snap punching the center of the holes that I marked so that my drill bit doesn't walk on me and cause my hole to be offset and just ruin the whole piece of steel. I'd have to start over. Then I got a PB blaster that I use to help me drill through the thick steel. I'm using the gold rigid drill bits from Home Depot, and to be honest, for the cost, they're really good. I really didn't have any problems. I think they were like $24 for a set of, I believe it was 16 or 18 different drill bit sizes. So I didn't really have any problems. Right here I'm adjusting the cutout because I had to fit in for that alternator relocation bracket, and so I have to notch it out because I can't use that first bolt hole. And then the bottom, there's a little aluminum bracket that they have that goes sideways on the bottom 2 bolts. There's still plenty of bolt holes in this setup. You know, just one of those things I didn't know until I got the bracket in the mail, and I had to adjust it, so it's not really a huge deal. If you're wondering what that pile of bolts is, that's all the bolts from parting out the Eclipse. Every bolt that I thought was worth saving is in that pile. For this build, I'm not really using any of those. What I'm doing is I'm finding out which ones work, and then I'm going to the local Ace Hardware and picking up brand new hardware, and I'm just using those as a guide to know which thread pitch and lengths I need to get this job done. Tomorrow is Wednesday. I'm going to the steel shop and I'm picking up some more 16 gauge steel so that I can make the duct system for my intercooler, and that's going to be a little interesting. I'm having that go. Just think of it. You have the intercooler dead center of the radiator area, and in this Monte Carlo, it's a pretty huge tunnel. So the intercooler is going to be dead center in front of the radiator. It's going to have a metal plate, and then from that metal plate, the 4 corners, all the 4 walls, the top, bottom, and the 2 sides, are going to go off on a small angle towards the front of the car. So as the air rushes in, it's like a funnel, right? So it's going to funnel the air into the intercooler instead of just hitting a wall and then causing a whole bunch more turbulence around the outer corners that are going to be all welded to the tunnel. So that's going to be a video coming up here pretty soon. Now, right here, this is the alternator bracket I was talking about. As you can see, it has the one that goes off to the top, and then the 2 bolt holes are plugged in with the bottom bracket, and that goes. You use a stock alternator bolt and nut, and you use the stock alternator bolt on the top that holds the bracket in, and then everything else is supplied by them. They supply you with the new belts for both the power steering and the alternator. Alright, now this right here is my 2 intakes. The black one is the stock 2G, and the silver one is the Lancer Evo 3 manifold. The intake head ports, the intake ports for the head are identical. The Evo 3 does not have an EGR. And then as you can see, the Evo 3 throttle body is sorry, not the Evo 3. This is the non-turbo 4G63 throttle body, which is much bigger. Then couple pictures of it on the motor. This is a stock 2G. Okay, it has much longer runners, as you can tell right there when it's switched over. The Evo 3 is much shorter runners, so it's going to give me better high-end power, but not as much low-end torque, which is okay. I mean, I have 272 cams, so it already shifted my power towards more towards the top, but I'm going to deal with it. When I'm road racing or time attack, I'm going to, not be in the lower RPM range very much at all. So it's not really a thing. As you can tell now, I sent this off to Bill, who made my bell housing, and he chopped the throttle body flange and put it on the other side. So now I can run the rear wheel drive setup without having the throttle body pointed at my firewall, which is a great thing. And because I'm not having all this extra stuff hooked onto the motor like a stock vehicle does, I'm going ahead and I'm cutting off every single tab that I do not need, because I'm just trying to make it look clean. So, the cleaner it looks to me, the more I'll get compliments, I believe. If you don't have a bunch of, places that look like there's supposed to be something there, then you can compensate and cut off all these tabs, and maybe even if you have an empty bolt hole, just put a bolt in it. It makes it look so much cleaner than just having empty bolt holes. I mean, think about it. You just if you anodize different bolts and anodize different bolts to your different colors to match whatever you're running in your car, whatever colors you're doing, then it'll look cleaner. People will think you spent a lot more time when it really didn't take that much time, and overall your project will look nicer. And then after I cut off the tabs, I tested out my blending disc to see if it was going to take care of the aluminum real good, and it did. There's no problems. I use, I think it's a 60 or no, it's an 80 grit blending disc, and it rounded it all off real nice and got rid of a lot of the casting marks, just to make it all nice. So when I paint this, there's actually some spots on it that you could tell were grinded on. So instead of spending a lot of time sanding it, I just painted it real thick, and then I'm going to wet sand the paint to smooth out the paint, and then put a final coat of paint on it, and then clear coat it at the end. That way it'll fill up all my gaps, and I think that it'll look good, because it already looks a heck of a lot better right now. Yeah. At 700 times speed on these videos I'm doing right here with my work, you can tell it gets dark really, really fast. And I was just trying to get this done, and I really ended up not having enough time to finish it. I wish I had more lighting in the garage, but I didn't, so I just went to my work the next day, and there was a couple spots on the intake that there's just a couple spots that didn't look good. They had like little divot marks from when he welded, like right there where he's welding now, and just spots that I thought should get filled in so that when I blended it out it would look nice and smooth. I work at a sign shop, so we weld aluminum, we weld steel, we do all kinds of different stuff. So here it is. I'm pretty close to almost having this whole intake smooth at this point. Just a couple spots I needed to take care of, but overall I think it's going to look really good. I do have to tap it for intake port, sorry, not intake ports, vacuum ports. I think I'm going to tap them on the very back side, so when you're looking at it, it's just going to look like 90-degree angles coming out of the head and going down and wrapping under the head. And I'm going to put all my map sensor and everything underneath the intake manifold, so you can't see it, and it'll make it look even more clean. The more stuff I can hide, the better, I think. I've seen a lot of stuff with different vehicles, and they look, cluttered, and I don't like that look. So right now, I don't know if you guys use them, but I never plan on going through emissions with this car. Even if I'm living in a place that does emissions, I'm just going to put it in my mom's name in Detroit, where they're never going to do emissions, so it doesn't matter. So what I did was, the vacuum ports that go onto the throttle body, the top of the throttle body, they usually go to your different solenoids and your EGR valve, and I don't even know what some of them even go to. But I cut the whole set of nipples off with a bandsaw, and then I had my boss weld up the holes so that I could, just polish it off, and then when I paint it, you won't even know. So now that I got my bell housing from Bill, right now I'm just transferring over the bell housing onto this W58. It actually ends up being the wrong style W58. I mean, the guts and internals, everything's perfect, except the shifter position is in the wrong, it's not long enough. So I ended up having to go out and buying another one, which is no big deal. I mean, I only spent $75 on this one, so it doesn't really matter to me. But the SC300 Lexus has the shifter about 10 or 11 inches farther back. So I went ahead and bought one of those. I'm using kerosene to clean these parts. It works good, dissolving oils, and it dries fairly quickly, so I don't have to worry about a bunch of wet kerosene or wet flammable stuff all over everything. Especially when I'm grinding, I don't feel like catching my house on fire. So this is stock W58 bell housing for that 7M, the crappy super engine, the non-turbo. This is the bell housing from Bill. I'm using, it's got a Supra slave cylinder, and it uses a Mitsubishi clutch fork, Mitsubishi pivot ball, and then I'm using the Toyota Supra throwout bearing. At this point, though, I had the Mitsubishi throwout bearing on it, and I'm wondering why it didn't want to go on. So, if any of you want to laugh, go ahead. So I just had to return that, and I picked up the Supra throwout bearing to fit in, and now it's fine. The Supra has a wider input shaft, so the Mitsubishi one was just too small. This bell housing seemed to fit pretty good. I didn't have any issues with it. Just make sure you use a rubber mallet, because there's dowel pins that are on the tranny, and he made it a little bit tight, so just pound it in a little bit and torque it down and you're good. So until next time, have a good day.